Hi everyone, welcome to Explore History on YouTube. What I want to talk about today is something that I do very regularly, and that is looking for documents. So we're document hunting, and I was at an auction yesterday and I want to go through some of the great things that I found. And it really gets into the heart of what I do at Explore History, how we're trying to find new things all the time. And I was able to get 3 very good lots at this auction. It's a very high-end auction. Stuff goes for really big money sometimes, but they get some amazing stuff. So I had to be patient and didn't get quite a few things that I was looking for. But what I did get, I'm very, very pleased with. And just to go over some of it, I got a very large box full of stamps, lots of stock books, albums, all kinds of stuff, and some really interesting historical stuff as well. Stamps from Japanese occupied Burma, places like that. So some associated with the First, Second World War. So that's good. That's lots of stock that I can sell, and it kind of keeps things going. The other thing I got was a box of ephemera, which is very interesting. I always like getting boxes of ephemera because you have to sort through it and see what you get. So in this box, which was very, very cheap, I got a really beautiful Victorian photo album. No pictures in it, but a lovely album in great condition. So somebody will be able to take this and fill it with their family photos. So that is quite an interesting piece. You never know what you're going to get with ephemera, and that's the thing when you get a whole box. So this is somebody's cleaned out the loft, and so here's a whole bag full of different maps of London. These are all vintage. So again, there's collectors for this kind of thing, and some of them are quite interesting. There's all sorts of stuff in here. A scrapbook, ferns and flowers that somebody has put together. This is Victorian. There's all kinds of artwork and photos, all sorts of things that somebody has put together over probably years and years. And again, there's collectors for this kind of thing. There's not a great deal of value, but they're really quite interesting. And to think that this is something that somebody has put together over a long time is quite important. There's all sorts of other things in here as well. There's some nice framed prints of flowers. These are all Victorian, some beautiful artwork. So those are quite interesting. And you get, there's signed autographs, including one of Adam Ant in here, which is quite interesting. Airplanes, just all sorts of stuff. Again, this is the kind of things that people collect up over the years. But what caught my eye, and is really interesting, that in amongst all of this, there are some indentures. So here we've got a very nice vellum indenture from 1809. Beautiful document. And so it's got 3 signatures, 3 red wax seals in the bottom. And it's got all sorts of information, very well decorated. This is a legal document, usually for properties. This one is for the release of a piece of land in the county of Kent. And it is dated 1809. So very early document. That'll need some more research. Here's another one, 1793. And again, a beautiful vellum document, quite large, dealing with a property. So again, you see this document, needs a lot of research, but very interesting, always kind of good fun to go through. And they're wonderful documents. Not only do they give a lot of information on people's businesses, on properties changing hands, often on wills, and deal with different estates, but also a lot of family history. So you get a lot of connection between different family members. And so that's quite interesting. This regards security of £2,000 with interest. So somebody with a lot of money had this, 1793. That's an enormous amount of money. All sorts of things. Here's another one. So it's something I always look for, that sometimes in the bottom of the box you find some nice documents like this. And this one is an absolute beauty. Again, a very large indenture, 1 signature at the bottom, which I'll need to do some research on. It's got some staining, a bit of mold, but again, this is a very early document. This one here dating to 1755. So you're going back an awfully long way, and it's got all kinds of information. So really quite interesting to look at in this document. But the main reason I went to the auction, and I waited right to the very end, was for this document. And this is quite an interesting piece. It's the kind of stuff I look for, something I will be podcasting on in the coming weeks. This is all about the British establishing a base in Baku on the Caspian Sea in 1919. So this is just after the First World War. The Bolshevik Revolution had broken out in 1917, and now with the First World War coming to a close, and once it's finished, we have the British and their allies all moving towards trying to defeat Bolshevism in Russia. And so this was civil war in Russia is breaking out in 1919, and this is now the British effort. So it really gives a really good account of the organization of a naval base on the Caspian Sea and the role that Britain was going to be playing in that region to try and halt the expansion of the Bolshevik Revolution and communism into the countries surrounding Russia at this time. So this is going to be a really fun project to research. It's going to be something that I'll be able to podcast on and maybe do more with it. It's quite interesting reading what little bit I've already done. A lot of it's basic stuff setting up the camps. But keep in mind that this is on the Caspian Sea. We're a long ways away from Britain. These are very difficult times right after the conclusion of the First World War. And we've got this further conflict, which often gets really forgotten at this time because of the trauma and the scale of the First World War. We often don't see an awful lot on this conflict which emerged afterwards. So this is going to be a really interesting project for me, one which I'll be taking quite a bit of time on. But again, in the future, look for this. I'll do a reading of it in a podcast at sometime soon, and try and get that out to the public so everybody can see what was going on, learn a little bit more about this important part of British and world history. That's it for me with this little exploration. I'm going to do lots more of these over the coming weeks and months. I'm always going out to markets and to auctions, hunting for documents, trying to find these kind of things that are of real interest. And there's still so much of it out there. And so it's one of my main goals is to try and continue to try and find things. Many of them end up going to archives, some to private collectors. But before I do that, if at all possible, I like to get it out to the public so everyone can access these kinds of documents and the important history that they include. Okay, thank you very much, and I'll see you again soon.